Before I get into this video, I wanted to say that all anesthesia providers, whether it be CRNAs, anesthesiologists, or AAs, we are all here for the patient. Our number one goal is to do things that are in the best interest of the patient, to give them the best care possible, and for them to have the best outcome possible. Our patient's well-being is our priority across the board. I get asked this question all the time on social media from all kinds of people, anywhere from pre-CRNA students to SRNAs, to med students, and even people who are thinking about going into anesthesia as a residency, and even prospective AAs. So really all around the board, anybody who's interested in becoming an anesthesia provider tends to have this concern, and I think it's a very valid one, so that's why I wanted to address it today. A little background on me: my name's Rihanna, I'm a CRNA. I work in a level 1 trauma center in an ACT model, anesthesia care team model, which means I work directly with anesthesiologists every single day. I'm going to be addressing two different aspects of the anesthesiologist-CRNA relationship in this video, and that's going to be the in the workplace or everyday relationship, and also the political relationship, because I feel like both are very important and they're two separate things, so talking about just one kind of does a disservice to the overall picture. Let's start out by talking about the relationship between us in the workplace. But really quick, guys, before we go any further, I need to tell you about the new community John and I created together. It is called More Than Money. It is a forum, a mentorship program, and a community that involves live interactive classes several times a week, teaching you guys about different subjects. We talk about everything from money, investing, financial freedom, real estate, to all things nursing, getting into nursing school, getting into CRNA school, how to deal with CRNA school, how to pay for it. I do resume editing, also essay editing, mock interviews for school. Anything you can imagine, we are doing in this community. We are so excited to share our passions with you guys. If you would like to join, we made it extremely affordable so that everybody would have a chance. The link is in the description below. And with that, we'll get back to the video. Like I said, I work with anesthesiologists every single day, and I'm fortunate enough to have a great relationship with them. I have not had a bad experience with any of the anesthesiologists that are staff where I work, and I've been working for about 7 months as a new grad. I feel that we truly work as a team. We talk about cases together, we see patients together in pre-op, or even if we see them separately, we both talk to them and then talk together to come up with a good anesthesia plan. I feel like they respect my opinion, and I also have autonomy where I work, which is very important. I feel that my anesthesia is not micromanaged, which is very important to me as provider. Now, keep in mind, CRNAs can work independently and do in many places across the United States. I chose to work somewhere that had an ACT model solely because I wanted to work in a level 1 trauma center to start out. I wanted to have that experience, and this is the only level 1 trauma center near where I live. And I was a student here, so I had a pretty good insider view of the relationship before I even started working. A concern of many is, do I have to ask anesthesiologists for permission to do stuff? And no, that's not how it works. We're working as a team, so we're basically there as support systems for each other. The anesthesiologist kind of oversees things from a position where they're not in the room the whole time. But I'm in the room the whole time with the patient, making decisions and taking care of them. So we do communicate back and forth, and we also both do charting separately. So we're both charting separately, showing what has happened during this case. As a new grad CRNA, because I'm under 1 year of experience, it is nice to have a second opinion of somebody that has more experience than me, whether that be an anesthesiologist or the charge CRNA, because I can call either when I have a question. So the charge CRNA sometimes is busy with traumas in the ER, or with intubations on the floor, or with helping another CRNA. So I can always call the anesthesiologist I'm working with if I have a question, concern, or need a second set of hands. Now, I'm not saying everything is perfect all the time, but overall we do get along very well, and I'm very grateful for that, because I do know people who work in other hospitals where the relationship is not as good, and it is a tense workplace and the culture is not great, and I'm very glad that I don't work somewhere like that. Since I just talked about all the positive aspects of working with the anesthesiologists I work with, I did want to say that I have had negative experiences, and I kind of wanted to talk about that a little without getting into specifics. So, to be completely upfront, my negative experiences were never with anesthesiologists who are staff where I work. And what I mean by that is they were with anesthesiologists who came in just to help out for a short amount of time, or we call them locum anesthesiologists. You might know them as like travel anesthesiologists. We've had several of these locums come in, and a majority of them have been great and have been awesome to work with. But I have had negative experiences with a few, and I think it's people who actually came from facilities where the CRNA anesthesiologist relationship was different and wasn't as autonomous. So I have felt like these people have tried to micromanage me, but I will say that I know that everybody's concern is the patient. Everybody's there for the best interest of the patient, and I would never let pride get in the way of giving the patient the best care they need. So if somebody suggested I do something and I thought that was in the best interest of the patient, I don't care if it was an anesthesiologist or a CRNA who suggested it, that is what I would do. I want to be very clear about that. But when somebody suggests something that I'm not comfortable with or I do not think is the best decision, I will definitely voice my opinion. I'm not a sensitive person. I don't get offended easily. If somebody approaches me wrong, that's not going to impact my anesthesia care. I just really wanted to explain to you why people say the things they do about the CRNA anesthesiologist relationship, and I felt that I needed to kind of talk about the problems or disagreements that I have had with people in order to give you the full picture. So long story short, I have a great relationship with the staff anesthesiologist where I work. Very, very thankful for that, and I've had a great experience so far. In most work environments, people won't straight up just be mean to each other. We are professionals. So even if an anesthesiologist doesn't believe that CRNAs should be practicing independently, or a CRNA doesn't believe they should be working with an anesthesiologist or be in a supervision team model, they're not gonna usually act like that in the workplace. They're gonna get along, they're gonna act professional, and things are gonna kind of seem like smooth sailing. You might feel a little tension here or there, and I think of that as political tension, which I'm gonna talk about in just a second. But overall, people are respectful of each other. People do not go around just voicing their opinions about who should be directing who should be working with who, and who should be independent. And the culture actually around patient care is very patient-centered. So we would never be bringing our political views and disagreements into the workplace and letting it affect the patient. So on that note, let's talk about the politics. This is a very different subject. It's a very controversial subject, or at least the opinions differ very much between the two. So there are two main groups in the United States between CRNAs and anesthesiologists, and that is the AANA, American Association of Nurse Anesthetists, and the ASA, American Society of Anesthesiologists. The main issue between the two and why everybody thinks they don't get along is because CRNAs advocate for independent practice and have it in many places. Anesthesiologists advocate that CRNAs should not be working independently and should only be working under medical direction or supervision of an anesthesiologist. I'm going to be completely straightforward here and say I do believe CRNAs should be able to practice independently. I do not think medical direction or supervision is necessary. We are fully trained, fully capable anesthesia providers and can provide very safe and great anesthesia without the supervision or direction of an anesthesiologist. The ASA dedicates their political time and energy to trying to limit CRNA practice. The AANA dedicates their time and political energy to expand CRNA practice. So you can see how there is some clashing between the two with basically opposite views. I'm not going to dive into specifics of the policies behind the scenes, but I am going to talk about the whys and the why I think that we have such opposing views. So the reason I believe anesthesiologists are anti-independent CRNA practice is to protect their job. And I really can't blame them for that. Anesthesiologists advocating for their compensation and themselves and their position doesn't offend me, and I can see why they're doing it. And I understand their concern for themselves, but I will continue to advocate for my profession and what I think is best for the healthcare system and our patients. To close this out, I want to reiterate that we are all here for the patients. The goal of CRNAs and the goal of anesthesiologists is the same. We all want the best care for the patient. We all want the best outcome for the patient. We are all here for them. And no matter what is going on behind the scenes politically, we all have the same goal. So guys, there it is. I answered your long-awaited question. I hope that you found that helpful, informative, and educational. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up. I would really appreciate it, and hit subscribe so you don't miss any more videos. As always, I hope you have an amazing week, and I will see you next week.